Captain Daeho Kim stood on the command deck of Haven Station, staring at the warning lights that covered every screen. His hands gripped the metal railing, so tight his knuckles turned white. Outside the reinforced windows, space itself seemed to darken as massive ships appeared from nowhere. They were unlike anything he had seen in his 20 years of service. The alien vessels looked organic, like they were grown rather than built. Their hulls pulsed with a sickly green light. Dozens of them surrounded the station, blocking every escape route. Daeho had seen combat before, but this was different. This was a slaughter waiting to happen. "How many?" he asked, his voice steady despite the fear crawling up his spine. Young Soo Choi, the communications officer, looked up from his console. The young man's face was pale. 40 ships, Captain. Maybe more jumping in. They're jamming our long-range communications. Daeho nodded slowly. Haven Station was a mining colony, home to 3,000 people. Families, children, scientists who had never held a weapon. They had basic defense turrets. Nothing that could stop a fleet this size. "Get everyone to the inner sectors," Daeho ordered. "Seal the outer rings. Move now." The first impact shook the entire station. Alarms screamed through the corridors. Daeho grabbed the railing again as the floor tilted beneath his feet. Through the window, he saw one of their defense platforms explode in a ball of fire that died instantly in the vacuum of space. Dr. Hana Park burst onto the command deck, her medical coat flying behind her. "We have injuries already. Hull breach on level 7. I need to set up emergency triage. Take the main cafeteria," Daeho said. "It's the most protected area we have." Hana nodded and ran back toward the medical bay. Daeho admired her courage. She could have panicked like others, but instead, she was already thinking about how to save lives. Another explosion rocked the station. This time closer. The lights flickered and died, replaced by emergency red lighting that made everything look like a nightmare. Young Soo's console sparked, and he jumped back with a yelp. "Captain, they're targeting our power grid," said Tae-Min Lee, the station's chief engineer. He appeared on the main screen from the reactor room below. "I can reroute power, but we'll lose weapons and shields. We can keep life support and gravity. Nothing more." "Do it," Daeho said. "Weapons won't help us now. Just keep people alive as long as you can." Through the window, Daeho watched as another defense platform was destroyed. The alien ships moved with terrifying precision. They weren't just attacking randomly. They were systematically dismantling Haven Station's ability to fight back or call for help. Young Soo managed to get his backup console working. "Captain, I'm detecting a transmission from the lead ship. It's in standard. Put it through." A voice filled the command deck. It sounded like metal scraping against stone, cold and emotionless. "Human colony, you are surrounded. Your weapons are destroyed. Your shields are failing. Surrender in 48 hours or we will tear your station apart piece by piece. Your choice is survival as workers or death. We are the Vrakith. We do not negotiate." The transmission ended. Silence filled the command deck, except for the distant sounds of alarms and people screaming in fear somewhere in the station. 48 hours, Young Soo whispered. Daeho turned away from the window. He had fought pirates before. He had survived ship battles and close combat. But this was beyond anything in his experience. The nearest military help was weeks away. The Galactic Coalition had ships, but they would never arrive in time. Haven Station was alone. "Young Soo, did you get any distress signal out before they jammed us?" Daeho asked. The young officer nodded quickly. "One burst transmission. FTL beacon. But Captain, even if someone received it, there's no way help can reach us in time." Daeho knew he was right. The laws of physics were absolute. Faster than light, travel was fast, but not instant. Space was too big. They were too far from anywhere that mattered. "Keep trying to find a gap in their jamming," Daeho ordered. "Maybe we can get another signal out." Over the next hours, the situation grew worse. Tae-min reported that 3 more hull breaches were spreading through the outer rings. Dr. Hana sent updates about casualties climbing into the hundreds. Families huddled in the inner sectors, waiting to see if they would live or die. Daeho organized what little defense they had left. He sent teams with whatever weapons they could find to guard the key access points. If the Vrakith decided to board the station early, they would at least make them pay for every meter. On the second day, Daeho walked through the shelters in the inner sector. Children cried. Parents held them close. Old miners, who had spent decades in space, sat quietly, staring at nothing. They all knew the truth. No help was coming. The Vrakith would either enslave them or kill them. Dr. Hana found him near the cafeteria she had converted into a medical center. Blood stained her coat. Dark circles shadowed her eyes. She had been working non-stop to save the injured. How many? Daeho asked quietly. 212 dead, she said. More wounded. Some won't make it. We're running out of medical supplies. Daeho wanted to say something comforting, but the words wouldn't come. What could he say? That everything would be okay? They both knew that was a lie. You're doing everything you can, he finally said. Hana looked at him with tired eyes. Is it enough, though? Before he could answer, Young-Soo's voice crackled over the emergency speakers. Captain Daeho, to command deck, immediately. Captain Daeho, to command deck. There was something in Young-Soo's voice. Not fear this time. Something else. Confusion, maybe. Or disbelief. Daeho ran. He took the stairs 3 at a time, his heart pounding. When he reached the command deck, Young-Soo was staring at his console, with his mouth open. What is it? Daeho demanded. Young-Soo pointed at the screen with a shaking finger. Contact. Single ship. Just dropped out of FTL. At the edge of the system. The Vrakith? No, sir. The signature is different. It's massive. Bigger than anything in their fleet. And Captain. Young-Soo looked up at him with wide eyes. It's moving toward us. Fast. Really fast. Daeho stepped closer to the screen. The sensor reading showed 1 ship against 40. 1 ship coming to face an entire fleet. It was either the bravest thing he had ever seen, or the most foolish. Can you identify it? He asked. Young-Soo's fingers flew across his console. Then he stopped. Young-Soo, what is it? The young officer's voice came out as barely a whisper. Sir, it's transmitting an identification code. Origin. Earth. Classification. Military. Name. He paused and looked up at Daeho. UESN Soul's Fury. Daeho felt something he hadn't felt in days. A tiny spark of hope. Dangerous and fragile. Earth had sent a ship. Just 1 ship against impossible odds. He looked out the window at the Vrakith fleet surrounding them. Then, he looked back at the sensor, reading showing that single contact, racing toward them through the dark. Maybe, just maybe, help had come after all. Admiral Ji-Woo Kang stood at the center of the Soul's Fury's command bridge, her hands clasped behind her back. Around her, dozens of officers worked at their stations, their faces lit by the glow of screens and holographic displays. The bridge was massive, befitting a ship that measured 2 full kilometers from bow to stern. Time to contact? Ji-Woo asked. 18 minutes to weapons range, replied Sun Hee-yoon from the tactical station. The woman's calm voice never changed, whether they were running drills or heading into combat. The Vrakith fleet is holding position around Haven Station. Ji-Woo nodded. She had known this moment would come eventually. For months, Earth's intelligence network had tracked Vrakith movements through this sector. They were testing defenses, probing for weaknesses. Haven Station was isolated, poorly defended. The perfect target. That's why the Soul's Fury had been waiting just 2 systems away. Lieutenant Hyun-woo, status of weapon systems? Ji-Woo asked. Hyun-woo Nam looked up from his console with a confident grin. The young weapons officer had been itching for a real fight since they launched from Earth. All systems green, Admiral. Gravity lances charged and ready. Missile tubes loaded. Point defense active. We're ready to show these aliens what Earth builds. Chief Engineer Bo-Ra, how's my reactor? Jiwoo asked. Bo-Ra Han's voice came through the speakers from deep in the ship's engineering section. 0-point reactor, running at optimal levels. Shields can take whatever they throw at us. I guarantee it. Jiwoo allowed herself a small smile. Her crew was the best Earth had to offer. They had trained for 3 years on this ship before it was even officially commissioned. Every system had been tested and retested. The Soul's Fury represented 15 years of research, development, and construction. It was built for one purpose: to make sure humanity would never be caught defenseless again. Put me on open broadcast, Jiwoo ordered. All frequencies. Young-Su's voice crackled through. Broadcasting now, Admiral. Jiwoo straightened her uniform. Her words would reach not just the Vraakith, but Haven Station as well. Those people needed to know they weren't abandoned. This is Fleet Admiral Jiwoo Kang of the United Earth Space Navy, commanding the dreadnought Soul's Fury. To the Vraakith fleet, you are in violation of Galactic Coalition law. You have attacked a peaceful civilian station. Withdraw immediately, or face destruction. She waited. The response came quickly, that same grinding metal voice that had threatened Haven Station. 1 human ship against 40 Vraakith warships. Your courage is admirable. Your intelligence is lacking. We will add your ship to our collection after we finish with the station. The Vraakith commander's laughter sounded like breaking glass. Then, the transmission ended. Well, Hyunwoo said cheerfully, we tried diplomacy. Now can we shoot them? Not yet, Jiwoo said. Let them make the first move. I want clear data on their weapons systems. The Soul's Fury continued its approach. Through the main view screen, Haven Station appeared as a small cluster of lights surrounded by the dark shapes of Vraakith warships. They looked like predators circling wounded prey. 8 enemy ships breaking formation, Sun-hee reported. Moving to intercept us. Let them come, Jiwoo said. Maintain course and speed. The 8 Vraakith ships accelerated toward the Soul's Fury. On the tactical display, red icons rushed toward the single blue icon, representing Earth's warship. To anyone watching, it looked like suicide. 1 ship against 8, with 32 more waiting behind. Weapons range in 30 seconds, Hyunwoo announced. They're charging what looks like plasma weapons. Shields to full, Jiwoo ordered. Prepare gravity lances. Target the lead ships. Yes, ma'am. The Vraakith opened fire first. Bright green bolts of superheated plasma shot across space, slamming into the Soul's Fury's shields. The bridge lights flickered slightly from the impact. That was all. Ender 5. 1. Ender 5. 1. Ender 5. Bo-Ra's voice came through the speakers. Shields holding at 98%. Their weapons are primitive. Like throwing rocks at a tank. Jiwoo allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. Fire. Hyunwoo's fingers moved across his console. Gravity lances away. The Soul's Fury's main weapons weren't missiles or lasers or plasma. They were gravity itself. Weaponized. Focused beams of gravitational force that could tear apart matter at the molecular level. The effect was instantaneous and devastating. The lead Vraakith ship simply came apart. It didn't explode. It disintegrated, pulled in different directions by forces that made its structure meaningless. Metal, twisted. Hull plates separated. In 3 seconds, a warship became debris. Target 2. Jiwoo said calmly. Another gravity lance fired. Another Vraakith ship died. Targets 3 and 4. Hyunwoo was laughing now, the sound almost manic. This is incredible. They can't even touch us. 2 more ships disintegrated. The remaining 4 Vraakith vessels tried to scatter, but Sun-hee was faster. She adjusted the Soul's Fury's course, bringing the massive dreadnought around with impossible grace. How is she moving like that? Someone whispered. from one of the stations. Advanced maneuvering thrusters, Sun He replied without looking up. Positioned all over the hull. We can dance if we need to. The last 4 attacking ships died within the next minute. 8 Vrocketh warships, reduced to floating scrap. The Soul's Fury didn't have a scratch. On Haven Station, Daeho watched through the command deck windows with his mouth hanging open. Young Su was gripping his console, his eyes wide. Even Taemin, watching from the engineering level, had stopped working to stare at the impossible scene. What is that thing? Taemin whispered over the comm. The remaining 32 Vrocketh ships suddenly didn't seem so confident. Their formation wavered. The Soul's Fury continued forward. Not slowing. Not stopping. A metal mountain moving through space with terrible purpose. They're regrouping, Sun He reported. All ships moving to engage us simultaneously. Good, Jiwoo said. Let's end this quickly. These people have suffered enough. The Vrocketh fleet came at them as one. 32 ships, all firing every weapon they had. Plasma, missiles, kinetic rounds. Space lit up with weapons fire. It all crashed against the Soul's Fury's shields. Shields at 85%, Bora reported. Still well within safety margins. Return fire. All weapons. What happened next would be talked about for decades. The Soul's Fury opened up with everything. Gravity lances swept through enemy formations like a scythe through wheat. Missile tubes launched smart projectiles that dodged and weaved before impacting targets. Point defense lasers picked off incoming fire. The massive ship became the center of a storm of destruction. Vrocketh ships exploded. Some tried to run. Sun He's calculations were perfect. She positioned the Soul's Fury to block escape routes, while Hyunwoo systematically destroyed targets. It wasn't a battle. It was an execution. 15 enemy ships destroyed, Hyunwoo called out. 20. The Vrocketh commander's voice cut through the chaos. Cease fire! We withdraw! We withdraw! Admiral, Hyunwoo asked, his finger hovering over his console. Jiwoo considered. She could destroy them all. End the threat completely. But she also needed to send a message. Not just to the Vrocketh, but to every other species that might think humans were easy prey. Let them go, she said. But target their engines as they run. I want them limping home. The surviving Vrocketh ships tried to escape. Gravity lances damaged their propulsion systems. Not enough to destroy, but enough to cripple. They jumped to FTL one by one, running for their lives. The Vrocketh commander's final transmission was filled with rage. You've made a terrible mistake, humans. The collective will return with 1,000 ships. We will burn your worlds to ash. Then they were gone. Space was suddenly quiet, except for the debris field of destroyed warships. On Haven Station, cheers erupted. People were crying, hugging each other, unable to believe they were still alive. Daeho leaned against his console, exhausted. Young Su was grinning so wide his face hurt. They did it, Young Su said. One ship beat them all. Jiwoo's voice came over the station's speakers. Haven Station. This is the Soul's Fury. We're coming into dock. Medical teams and engineers are standing by. You're safe now. Dr. Hana Park heard the message in her makeshift medical center. She looked around at the injured people she had been trying to save with inadequate supplies. Now help was coming. Real help. She started crying and couldn't stop. The Soul's Fury moved closer to Haven Station, its massive bulk blocking out stars. To the people who had thought they would die today, it looked like salvation itself. On the bridge, Jiwoo allowed herself to relax slightly. But she couldn't shake the Vrocketh commander's final words. 1,000 ships. It had been a threat, probably an exaggeration, but the intelligence reports had shown increasing Vrocketh activity. Sun He, scan the debris field. Jiwoo ordered. Look for data cores or anything with information. I want to know what they were really doing here. Yes, Admiral. The battle was over. They had won. But Jiwoo had learned long ago that every victory came with a price. She just hoped they could afford whatever came next. The Soul's Fury docked with Haven Station 6 hours after the battle ended. Captain Deho stood at the airlock, watching as it opened with a hiss of equalizing pressure. He didn't know what to expect. Marines, maybe, rushing in with weapons ready. Instead, the first person through was Admiral Ji Woo Kang herself. She was shorter than Deho had imagined, but something about the way she carried herself commanded respect. Her uniform was crisp and perfect, despite the battle. Behind her came teams of medics carrying equipment and engineers with repair tools. "Captain Kim," Ji Woo said, extending her hand. "I wish we were meeting under better circumstances." Deho shook her hand. His own was dirty, covered in grime from days of emergency repairs. "You saved us, Admiral. I don't know how to thank you. Don't thank me yet. We need to secure this station and evacuate the critically wounded. Can you show me to your command center?" Number. As they walked through the damaged corridors, Deho briefed Ji Woo on the situation. The casualties, the damage, the supplies they had left. Dr. Hana joined them, along with Tae-min, who was already talking excitedly with the Soul's Fury's engineering teams. "Your medical facilities are overwhelmed," Hana said to Ji Woo. "I have 60 patients who need surgery I can't perform here. We'll transfer them to the Soul's Fury," Ji Woo replied. "Our medical bay can handle it. Focus on stabilizing everyone else." Young Soo met them at the command deck. The young man looked exhausted but couldn't stop smiling. "Admiral, I managed to recover some data from the Vrakith ships. Before they jumped away, one of their damaged vessels dumped its navigation logs." Ji Woo stopped walking. "Show me." Young Soo pulled up the data on his console. It was encrypted, but not well. As the decryption program ran, text and star charts began appearing. "This is more than just navigation data," Tae-min said, leaning in to look. His engineering mind quickly grasped what they were seeing. "These are shipping manifests, fleet compositions, supply routes." Ji Woo studied the data carefully. Her expression grew darker with each passing minute. This attack wasn't random. They were testing response times. "Look here." She pointed to a section of the file. "Multiple raids across 6 systems over the past 3 months. All on isolated colonies. All lasting just long enough to measure how fast help arrives. They're gathering intelligence," Deho said, understanding dawning. "For what?" Young Soo pulled up another file. A star map appeared, showing dozens of systems. At the center was a place marked with Vrakith symbols. "I think this is their staging ground. The translation software isn't perfect, but it's called something like the Void Nexus." "How many ships?" Ji Woo asked. Young Soo's fingers trembled as he brought up the inventory. "According to this, they're assembling a fleet of over 800 warships." The command deck went silent. 800 ships. The Soul's Fury had destroyed 8 and forced another 30 to retreat. 800 was impossible to fight, even for Earth's most advanced warship. "Where is this Void Nexus?" Ji Woo asked quietly. 3 systems away," Young Soo replied. "It's an asteroid field. Perfect for hiding a fleet." Tae-min pulled up more data. "Look at these supply routes. They're not just gathering ships. They're stockpiling weapons, fuel, provisions. This is preparation for a long campaign." "Against who?" Ji Woo nodded slowly. "The core worlds, Earth included. If they can cripple our ability to respond with a massive first strike, they can conquer system by system before we can organize a proper defense." Deho felt cold. His station, everyone who had died, it was just a test. A warm-up for genocide on a scale he couldn't imagine. "We need to warn Earth. The Coalition. Everyone. We will," Ji Woo said. "But by the time a message reaches Earth and they assemble a fleet, the Vrakith will have already launched. We'd be defending instead of preventing." She studied the star map, her eyes calculating distances and possibilities. Deho could almost see the thoughts forming in her mind. When she finally spoke, her voice was calm, but determined. "We're going to the Void Nexus. We're going to destroy their fleet before they can attack." The command deck erupted in protest. Hana stepped forward. "For a straight fight, yes," Jiwoo agreed. "But we won't fight them directly. We'll destroy their base. Look at these asteroid coordinates. They've built their command infrastructure into the rocks themselves. If we can detonate those asteroids, we can cause a chain reaction. Their own base becomes a weapon against them." Taemin's engineering mind was already working on the problem. "You'd need massive seismic charges, placed precisely on multiple asteroids, and you'd need to keep the fleet distracted while you plant them." "Exactly," Jiwoo said. "Can it be done?" "Maybe," Taemin admitted. "But it would take time. And someone would have to get close to those asteroids, without being detected." "I volunteer," Daeho said immediately. "My people. We want payback for what they did to us." Hana grabbed his arm. "Daeho. You're talking about flying into the middle of an enemy fleet. I'm talking about making sure what happened to Haven Station doesn't happen to anyone else," Daeho replied. "Earth came for us when we had no hope. Now we help them." Jiwoo studied Daeho for a long moment. "I won't lie to you, Captain. The survival probability for this mission is extremely low. Even with the Soul's Fury providing support, we'll be outnumbered hundreds to one. Then we'd better be smart about it," Daeho said. Over the next 3 days, Haven Station became a hub of frantic activity. The Soul's Fury's engineers worked with Taemin to modify the station's surviving shuttles. They installed stealth systems, reinforced hulls, and equipped them with seismic charges powerful enough to crack asteroids apart. Dr. Hana moved between the station and the Soul's Fury's medical bay, treating patients and preparing for what she knew would be catastrophic casualties. She argued with Daeho every chance she got, but eventually she understood. Some things were worth dying for. Young-soo trained with the Soul's Fury's communications warfare team. His job would be to jam Vrakith communications and try to create confusion in their fleet. He was terrified, but refused to stay behind. Taemin joined Bo-Ra-Han in the Soul's Fury's engineering section. Together, they planned modifications to the reactor that would push it beyond its designed limits. Bo-Ra explained that it might destroy the ship, but it would also give them more power than any vessel had ever generated. "If we're going out," Bo-Ra said with a grim smile, "we're going out bright." Jiwoo spent the 3 days reviewing simulations with Sun Hee. They ran thousands of scenarios, looking for any advantage they could find. The results were consistent. 3% survival probability. "We should send a message to Earth," Sun Hee suggested. "Let them know what we're planning." "No," Jiwoo said. "They'd order us to retreat. Wait for reinforcements. By then, it would be too late." "So, we disobey orders that haven't been given yet?" Jiwoo smiled slightly. "I prefer to think of it as acting on our own initiative." On the 3rd night, before they were scheduled to leave, Daeho found Hana in the medical bay. She was sitting alone, staring at nothing. "Can't sleep either?" he asked. "I keep thinking about all the ways this can go wrong," Hana admitted. "We could all die, and not even slow them down." We could," Daeho agreed. "But we also might save billions of people who don't even know they're in danger. That's worth the risk." Hana looked at him. "When did you become so brave?" "When a single ship came to save us, even though it made no sense," Daeho replied. "When Earth showed us that sometimes you fight because it's the right thing to do, not because you can win." They sat in silence for a while, both understanding that these might be their last peaceful moments. Across the station, similar conversations were happening. Young-soo wrote a letter to his family, knowing they might never read it. Taemin checked and rechecked every system on the shuttles. Hyun-woo sharpened his skills on the weapons simulators, preparing for the battle of his life. On the Soul's Fury's bridge, Jiwoo stood alone, looking at the star map. 3 systems away, an armada was gathering. 800 ships ready to bring death to humanity and its allies. 1 Earth dreadnought, and a handful of brave survivors stood between them and conquest. She thought about Mars, about her family, who had died there when she was young, about all the times she had sworn she would never let that happen again. This mission was insane. Regulations said she should retreat, report, and wait for backup. But Jiwoo had learned that regulations were written by people who had never watched their world burn. "Admiral," Bo-Ra's voice came over the comm. "All systems ready. We can launch whenever you give the word." Jiwoo took a deep breath. "All hands. This is Admiral Kang. We depart in 1 hour. To anyone who wants to stay behind, I will not think less of you. This mission is voluntary." She waited. Not a single person requested to stay. "Then let's go stop a war," Jiwoo said softly. The journey to the Void Nexus took 72 hours through faster-than-light travel. The Soul's Fury moved through the strange space between stars, carrying its crew toward what most of them knew was a one-way trip. Captain Daeho spent the time training with his volunteer team, 20 Haven Station survivors, miners, and scientists who had never been soldiers. Learning how to plant explosives in the middle of a war zone, Hyunwoo ran them through weapons drills. The seismic charges are simple. Plant them, activate the timer, get out. Don't try to be a hero. The Soul's Fury will keep them busy. "What if we can't get out?" asked one of the volunteers, a young miner named Ki-hoon. "Then you make sure that charge is planted anyway," Daeho said quietly. "We're not going there hoping to survive. We're going there to stop them." The volunteers nodded. They understood. They had watched their friends die at Haven Station. This was bigger than survival now. Dr. Hana spent her time preparing the medical bay for casualties that might never arrive. If things went wrong quickly, there wouldn't be wounded to treat. There would just be floating debris. She tried not to think about it and failed constantly. Young-soo worked with the Soul's Fury's communications team, learning their systems. The plan was to create electronic chaos in the Vrakith fleet. Jam their communications. Send false orders. Make them confused and slow to respond. It was a good plan on paper. But Young-soo kept thinking about 800 ships and wondering if any amount of confusion would be enough. Taemin and Bo-Ra worked in the engineering section, modifying the reactor. They installed bypass systems that would let them push the zero-point reactor to double its designed output. Bo-Ra explained the risks, calmly. "At that level, the containment field will fail within minutes, maybe less. The resulting explosion will destroy the ship. So it's a suicide weapon," Taemin said. "It's insurance," Bo-Ra corrected. "If we're going down, we take as many of them with us as possible." On the bridge, Sun-hee ran her simulations endlessly. 3% survival. No matter how she adjusted variables, the number barely changed. She finally gave up, trying to find a better outcome, and focused instead on making sure that 3% counted for something. Admiral Jiwoo spent time walking through the ship, talking to her crew. She wanted them to know she saw them as people, not just names on a roster. In the mess hall, she found a group of young officers who fell silent when she approached. "Don't stop on my account," Jiwoo said, sitting down with them. "What were you talking about?" "Home," one of them admitted. "What we'll do if we survive." "Tell me," Jiwoo said. They talked about family farms and city apartments, about plans to get married or go back to school. Dreams of peaceful lives that seemed very far away now. Jiwoo listened and shared her own memories of Earth before Mars burned. She let them see her not as an admiral, but as someone who had also lost everything and chosen to keep fighting anyway. When she left, the young officers sat straighter. They understood now. They weren't just following orders. They were fighting for those dreams of home. On the third day, Sun-hee announced they were approaching the Void Nexus. Jiwoo ordered everyone to battle stations. The ship's lighting changed to combat red. Alarms chirped softly as systems came online. "Drop us out of FTL at maximum stealth distance," Jiwoo ordered. "I want to see what we're dealing with before they know we're here." The Soul's Fury dropped back into normal space at the edge of the asteroid field. The main view screen showed a sight that made everyone on the bridge go silent. The void nexus was massive, a cluster of asteroids that stretched for thousands of kilometers. And between the rocks, everywhere, were Vrakith ships. Sensor count, Jiwoo said quietly. Sun Hee's voice was steady, but her hands were shaking. 843 contacts. They've been reinforced since the data was recorded. Daeho stood next to the captain's chair, staring at the display. He had seen the numbers in the briefings, but seeing the actual fleet was different. There were so many ships. Even with the Soul's Fury's superior weapons, there was no way to destroy them all. We stick to the plan, Jiwoo said. Bora, prepare the stealth field. Activating now, Bora replied. But Admiral, I need to warn you. The stealth field was never tested on a ship this size. It might work for a few minutes, might not work at all. Then we'd better move fast. Daeho, launch your teams. Plant those charges on the coordinates Sun Hee identified. You have 30 minutes. Daeho nodded and headed for the hangar bay. His 20 volunteers were already in the shuttles, checking equipment one last time. Hana was there. And for a moment, they just looked at each other. Come back, she said. I'll try, he replied. The shuttles launched silently. Their own smaller stealth fields activated. They flew into the asteroid field like shadows, weaving between rocks and Vrakith ships. Daeho piloted the lead shuttle, his hands steady despite his racing heart. On the Soul's Fury, Young-Soo watched his sensors. Shuttles away. No detection so far. How long will our stealth hold? Jiwoo asked. Unknown, Sun Hee replied. We're generating a lot of power. Eventually, they'll notice the distortion. They didn't have to wait long. 5 minutes after the shuttles launched, alarms blared across the Vrakith fleet. Ships began moving, searching for the disturbance they had detected. They know we're here, Young-Soo announced. Stealth field failing. Drop it, Jiwoo ordered. All power to shields and weapons. Show them what they're dealing with. The Soul's Fury appeared suddenly, a massive dreadnought in the middle of their fleet. For a moment, there was stunned silence. Then chaos erupted. Vrakith ships converged from every direction. Weapons fire filled space. The Soul's Fury's shields flared, bright as hundreds of plasma bolts and missiles struck simultaneously. Shields at 70%, Bora called out. They're hitting us from all sides. Return fire, Jiwoo said calmly. Hyunwoo, I need you to make every shot count. Hyunwoo grinned despite the fear in his eyes. Yes, ma'am. Gravity lances firing. The Soul's Fury became the center of a storm. Its weapons carved through Vrakith ships with terrible efficiency. Every lance strike meant another enemy destroyed. But there were so many. For every ship they destroyed, 3 more took its place. Inside the asteroid field, Daeho's team worked frantically. They landed on the designated asteroids, drilled holes, and planted the seismic charges. Ki-hoon's hands were shaking so badly he almost dropped his charge, but he got it placed. Around them, the battle raged. Ships exploded. Debris rained down. First charge planted, Daeho reported over the comm. Moving to position 2. On the Soul's Fury, the situation was deteriorating. More ships kept coming. Shields at 40%, Bora announced. Port side taking heavy fire. Reroute power from non-essential systems, Jiwoo ordered. Sun Hee, get us closer to that command asteroid. I want to hit it directly. Sun Hee's fingers flew across her console. The massive ship twisted and turned, dodging some fire while absorbing the rest. They were fighting hundreds of ships at once, and somehow they were still alive. But everyone knew it couldn't last. Second charge planted, Daeho reported. His shuttle was damaged, trailing atmosphere. Moving to position 3, Young-Soo was sweating, his console sparking from a near hit. He sent out jamming signals and false communications, trying to create confusion in the enemy fleet. Some of it worked. Vrakith ships occasionally fired on each other by mistake. But not enough. Never enough. Shields at 20%, Bora said. We're losing them. How many more charges? Jiwoo asked Daeho over the comm. 3 more, Daeho replied. We need 5 more minutes. Jiwoo looked at the tactical display. 5 minutes might as well be 5 hours. But she had promised these people a chance. She would give them every second she could. Bora. There was a pause. Then Bora's voice came back, quiet. I know, Jiwoo said. Do it. In the engineering section. Bora stared at her console. Protocol, Hades. The suicide option. Overload the reactor, generate massive power for a short time, then die in a supernova bright explosion. She activated it. The soul's fury suddenly blazed with energy. Its shields strengthened. Its weapons fired faster. Hyun-woo was destroying ships so quickly he couldn't even count them. The dreadnought became a fury indeed, cutting through the Vrakith fleet like an angry god. But deep in its heart, the reactor was dying. All charges planted, Daeho reported. Shuttles returning. Negative, Jiwoo replied. Get clear of the blast zone. Head for the system edge. Daeho understood. The soul's fury wasn't leaving. His shuttles had just enough fuel to reach minimum safe distance. Maybe. Understood, Admiral, he said quietly. It's been an honor. On the bridge. Sun-hee reported. Reactor breach in 90 seconds. We need to evacuate. Jiwoo looked around at her bridge crew. Young-soo at communications. Sun-hee at tactical. Hyun-woo at weapons. None of them were moving toward escape pods. I'm not leaving, Sun-hee said simply. Me neither, Young-soo added. Someone's got to keep shooting. Hyun-woo said with a grim smile. Jiwoo felt tears in her eyes, but her voice stayed steady. Then, let's make these last seconds count. The soul's fury, dying but defiant, charged directly at the command asteroid. The soul's fury blazed through space like a dying star. Its reactor was critical. Shields were failing, and hull breaches appeared across every deck. But it still fought. Hyun-woo's hands moved constantly, firing weapons until the barrels glowed white-hot. Young-soo jammed enemy communications, even as his console sparked and smoked. Sun-hee piloted the massive ship on instinct alone, dodging fire that should have destroyed them 10 times over. Admiral Jiwoo stood at the center of the bridge, watching the command asteroid grow larger on the view screen. Behind it, Daeho's shuttles were racing away, pushing their damaged engines to the limit. Around them, the Vrakith fleet swarmed like angry insects, firing everything they had. 30 seconds to reactor breach. Bora's voice came over the speakers. She sounded calm, almost peaceful. It's been an honor, serving with all of you. The honor was ours, Jiwoo replied. Yes, Admiral. The soul's fury accelerated. 2 kilometers of Earth's finest engineering, built over 15 years, about to end its life in one final act of defiance. The Vrakith seemed to realize what was happening. Ships threw themselves in the dreadnought's path, trying to stop it. Hyun-woo destroyed them. Nothing would stop this last charge. In his fleeing shuttle, Daeho watched through the rear cameras. His volunteers sat silent, knowing they were witnessing something that would be remembered forever. If anyone survived to remember it. 20 seconds, Bora announced. Jiwoo thought about Mars, about her family, about every person Earth had lost to alien aggression, about Haven Station and 3,000 civilians who had been saved, about billions more across the galaxy who would never know they had been protected today. 10 seconds. The Soul's Fury crashed into the command asteroid. The impact alone would have been devastating. But then the reactor breached. A new sun was born in the void nexus. The zero-point reactor, pushed beyond all limits, exploded with the force of a small star. The command asteroid vaporized instantly. The explosion spread outward in a perfect sphere of destruction, consuming everything in its path. Vrakith ships closest to the blast simply ceased to exist. Those further away were torn apart by the shockwave. And then, the seismic charges detonated. Daeho's carefully placed explosives cracked asteroids along precise fault lines. The massive rocks broke apart, their pieces moving at incredible speeds. The asteroid field became a chaotic storm of debris. Vrakith ships tried to escape, but there was nowhere to go. Asteroids collided with each other in chain reactions. The entire nexus was destroying itself. In his shuttle, pressed against the wall by acceleration, Daeho watched the destruction spread. The light was so bright, it hurt to look at. He thought of Jiwoo, Sunhee, Hyunwoo, Youngsu, Bo-ra, heroes who had given everything. "Brace for shockwave," he yelled to his team. The blast wave hit them like a hammer. Shuttles tumbled through space, their hulls screaming with stress. One shuttle lost power completely. Another's engines exploded, killing everyone inside instantly. Daeho's shuttle held together by pure luck, alarms screaming as systems failed one by one. Then suddenly, impossibly, space around them filled with new ships. Dozens of them, dropping out of FTL in perfect formation. Daeho's damaged sensors could barely read them, but he caught identification codes. Earth ships. Coalition vessels. A full fleet. On the bridge of the EUS Liberation, Admiral Seokjin Park watched the destruction of the Void Nexus with wide eyes. He had been Jiwoo's brother. When Haven Station's distress call had finally reached Earth and been analyzed, he had pushed his fleet to maximum speed. But even then, he knew he would be too late. "Get recovery ships to those shuttles," Seokjin ordered, his voice thick with emotion, "and scan for survivors from the Soul's Fury." "Sir, at that blast magnitude," his tactical officer started. "Scan anyway," Seokjin demanded. The combined Earth and Coalition fleet moved through the debris field. What had been 800 Vrakith warships was now wreckage. The ones that survived were fleeing in every direction, their fleet shattered, their invasion plans in ruins. "Pursuit?" his weapons officer asked. "Let them run," Seokjin said. "Let them tell their masters what happens when you threaten humanity." Daeho's shuttle was brought aboard the Liberation along with the other survivors. 13 shuttles had made it out. 7 were lost. Of the Soul's Fury, there was nothing. Just an expanding cloud of superheated gas where it had died. In the medical bay, Hana found Daeho. He was sitting on a bed, staring at nothing, covered in burns and bruises. When he saw her, something broke inside him. He started crying and couldn't stop. "They're gone," he whispered. "All of them. They saved us, and they're gone." Hana held him, her own tears falling. Around them, other survivors wept for the crew that had sacrificed everything. Admiral Seokjin Park stood in his ready room, reading the data they had recovered from the Soul's Fury's final transmissions. Jiwoo had known it was a one-way mission. She had recorded a message for him, for Earth, for anyone who came after. Her voice was calm on the recording. "To whoever finds this, the Vrakith were planning to invade the core worlds. 800 ships at the Void Nexus, with more gathering. We stopped them. We stopped them because waiting for permission or reinforcements would have meant watching billions die. Sometimes you have to act. Sometimes you have to be willing to pay the price. Earth, take care of the survivors from Haven Station. They're braver than any soldier. And tell my brother I'm sorry I couldn't make it home, but I'd make the same choice again." Admiral Jiwoo Kang, United Earth Space Navy, signing off. Seokjin played the message 3 times. Then he composed his report for Earth Command. The news reached Earth 2 days later. The Soul's Fury, humanity's greatest warship, had been destroyed. But in its death, it had prevented an invasion that would have killed billions. Admiral Jiwoo Kang and her crew were declared heroes. Their names were entered into the Hall of Remembrance alongside every person who had died defending humanity. The political impact was immediate. The Galactic Coalition, which had ignored Earth's warnings about the Vrakith for months, suddenly took humanity very seriously. Earth was granted a permanent seat on the Coalition's Security Council. Human military doctrine became studied in war colleges across the galaxy. Haven Station was rebuilt. Captain Day-Ho oversaw the reconstruction, turning it into a memorial as much as a colony. A massive monument was erected in the central plaza, listing the names of everyone who had died in the siege. And at the top, in letters that could be seen from space, "They came for us, Soul's Fury and crew, Earth's finest." Dr. Hannah Park continued her medical work, but now as the director of the Coalition Medical Relief Initiative. She and Day-Ho married in a simple ceremony on the rebuilt Haven Station. Young Su's family received his final letter, along with medals honoring his courage. Taemin Lee's innovations in reactor design, learned from Bo-Ra Han, revolutionized power systems across human space. But the greatest change was in how the galaxy saw humanity. Earth had sent one ship to defend a colony that wasn't even Earth's own. That ship had faced impossible odds and won through sacrifice and determination. The message was clear. Humanity would not abandon those who needed help. Humanity would not wait for permission to do what was right. 10 years after the Battle of Void Nexus, a small alien species called the Kelvin sent a distress call. They were under attack by raiders, their homeworld in danger. The Coalition debated what to do, how to respond, whether it was worth the resources. Earth didn't debate. 20 human dreadnoughts dropped out of FTL above the Kelvin homeworld. They were newer ships, built with lessons learned from the Soul's Fury. The Soul's Fury 2 led them, commanded by Captain Hyun-Woo Nam. He had survived. Bo-Ra had managed to get him and a handful of engineering crew to an escape pod at the last second. He never spoke about it, but everyone knew the guilt he carried for living when so many had died. Now he stood on his bridge, looking at the raiders, threatening the helpless Kelvin. He thought about Ji-Woo, about Sun-Hee, about all the friends he had lost at Void Nexus, and he gave the order that echoed across the galaxy. "This is Earth. We're here to help." The raiders fled without a fight. The Kelvin people were saved. They asked Earth why they had come, why they had risked so much for strangers. Hyun-Woo's answer was simple. Because, 10 years ago, when we were dying, Earth came for us, when no one else would. We learned something that day. We learned that the strong protect the weak, not because they have to, but because they can. That's what it means to be human. The story of the Soul's Fury spread. It was told in every bar and station from the core worlds to the frontier. It became legend. They said that when humanity heard a distress call, they didn't calculate the odds. They didn't check if it was profitable. They just came, fast and ready to fight. On Haven Station, old now but still strong, Day-Ho stood before the memorial. His hair was gray, his back bent slightly with age, but his eyes were clear as he looked up at the names carved in stone. "They thought no help would come," he said softly, "but they were wrong. Earth's strongest ship arrived, and it changed everything." Behind him, children played in the plaza, growing up in a station that should have been destroyed, but survived. In schools across the galaxy, young people learned about Admiral Ji-Woo Kang and her crew. About the day one ship faced 800 and refused to surrender. The Soul's Fury was gone. But its legacy lived forever. In every human ship that jumped to answer a distress call. In every Marine who stood between innocence and danger. In every person who believed that doing the right thing was worth any price. Earth had shown the galaxy something powerful that day at Void Nexus. Not just superior technology or tactical brilliance. They had shown something more fundamental. They had shown that humanity would always come when called. That Earth never abandoned those who needed help. That no matter the odds, no matter the cost, there would always be someone willing to fight. The message was simple but eternal. When all hope is lost, when the darkness closes in, when you think no help will come, remember the soul's fury. Remember that somewhere in the vast galaxy, there are people who will cross any distance, face any danger, sacrifice anything, to stand with those who cannot stand alone. Because that's what humans do. They come when called, they fight when needed, and they never, ever give up. High above Haven Station, stars shone in the darkness, and somewhere among them, other colonies were safe because of what happened here. Other species lived in peace because Earth had proven that the strong had a duty to the weak. Other children grew up free because a single ship and its crew had made the ultimate sacrifice. The soul's fury was destroyed, but its fury lived on in every human heart, and the galaxy was better for it. This was Earth's promise to the stars. You are not alone. Help will come. We will be there. Always.